Arizona Cardinals, top 5 graded players here in this game. Safety Budda Baker with an 89.1. Tight end Trey McBride with an 83.8. Center Froholt. That's a tough one to say every single time. I'm not going to get better at it. Well, maybe I will. I got to get the reps. Got to watch the tape. 81.2. Cornerback Starling Thomas, with a 75.4. And then guard Tristan Colin with a 75.1. Quarterback Kyler Murray in this one, an 80.3. And then the other side of things, look at the New York Jets. Guard John Simpson is at the top of the list with an 85.4. Offensive tackle Olu Fashanu with a 75.7. Wide receiver Garrett Wilson, 71.6. Offensive tackle Morgan Moses, 70.0. Guard Elijah Vera Tucker with a 78.4. And then Aaron Rodgers grading out with a 62.7. Staff that told the story. Where are we going, Dalton?
First thing before my actual one, if you would have told me a Jets offensive line was grading like that, I would have thought they were going to the Super Bowl, I'm telling you, before the season.
Oh, just with four offensive linemen in the top 5.
If you would have told me they'd have been playing like that, man, oh man.
And unfortunately, they all play well.
And
it was 31-6.
We have plenty of other problems.
Interesting.
So I'm just going to throw this out there for anyone who either lives in a cave or didn't watch this game, because I wouldn't blame you if you didn't want to watch this game. I didn't want to watch it, but, it's what we do. Sickos. The Jets don't have a good defense.
No, they
don't. These are just
they're bad.
Facts.
They're bad.
And it is not because Robert Saleh got fired. They didn't have a good defense before he got fired this season, and they don't have one now. And at the point when Robert Saleh was still the coach, the numbers were just inflated because they got to play Will Levis and Jacoby Brissett and Bo Nix in the pouring rain. Okay? Now we're seeing by the numbers what the Jets defense actually is, and to be honest, it's one of the worst defenses in football. In fact, their 41.4 team defense grade is their worst in any game in 3 years. This may have been the first game actually where I questioned their effort. The tackling, 7 pressures the entire day. The only sack was Quincy Williams coming unblocked in the highlight play where he knocked off Kyler Murray's helmet, and it's pretty much the only play their defense made all day. Kyler completed 22 of 24 passes. The usual stuff. I got to be honest, Trevor, I have no idea. I don't know whose idea it was to make the Jets the favorite coming into this game.
Well, that's what a lot of people thought with the Texans last week.
I thought that too, and the Texans at least were just so injured. Like the Texans healthy, they blow the doors off the Jets. If they have even if they just have Collins, they're blowing the doors off the Jets.
Probably.
And the Jets in the first half of that game were just awful.
It was bad.
Right.
It was bad.
So now you go into this game, and okay, so let's even take the Texans thing out of it. Jets don't stop the run, they don't tackle, and they don't cover tight ends. The Cardinals run very well and have an elite tight end and break tackles. I'm not sure what the logic was. And it was in Arizona. It wasn't even in New York on a Thursday.
I think it was just the fact that
because they beat the Texans.
No,
and that was it.
I think it's because of the perception of the Cardinals being very up and down.
Well, they're up.
Cardinals very clearly.
We'll make another statement 10 weeks in. The Cardinals are good. That's a good team. They haven't given up a touchdown their last 3 home games.
Wow.
So you got a defense. You got a defense playing better, and that's the weak spot. And you got an offense that's. You dig in on some of this stuff. This is a top 5 or 6 offense. Mm-hmm. So I don't really know why the Jets were favored, but just in case there's anybody left that doesn't know, the Jets just don't have a good defense.
No,
they don't have a good They don't have a good anything. I mean, it's just are they? I guess the only conversation we have, are they the single most disappointing team in football?
Yes.
Considering?
Yes. My most disappointing is the Jets tackling. We can talk about a lot of different things on this defense. You can talk about yards given up, talk about touchdowns given up, points given up, obviously. Talk about situational defense, EPA per play, EPA per rush, all that kinds of stuff, how they are in run defense, all that kind of stuff. It doesn't take anything other than discipline and effort to tackle, right? And if you got a lot of missed tackles, to me, that reads like penalties, where you were just unfocused, you're undisciplined, and you're kind of waving the white flag.
Which they've had a problem with for years.
You want to talk about the vibes being down. This team missed 13 tackles against the Arizona Cardinals. They've missed 166 tackles this season, which is 31st in the NFL. You're not a good defense if you're 31st in the NFL in missed tackles. You're just not. Because of all of the situational stuff, you could not have the run defenders up front. You could not have the speed and the pass rushers on the edge. You could not have the corners that you want to play to line up in man or zone or whatever it is. You could not have the safeties to not be as flexible as you want with two high or single high or whatever. Like, those are all valid excuses. You could tackle. Does not matter what the scheme is. Doesn't matter, which players are out. You can still tackle. That's a you thing. And to me, again, I'm not trying to call these guys out, but I think the vibes are bad on this team. I think that the discipline is not where it needs to be on this team. And it's hard to tackle at the NFL level. I'm not trying to make it easy, but you're a professional just like they're a professional. When you are 31st in the NFL at missed tackles, it's a massive issue for you. And I think it just is a microcosm of sort of what's going on with this Jets defense and has been, like you said, for a while. My stat that told the story rolls into my most impressive, and it is Kyler Murray. Murray was once again unbelievable. 22 for 24 passing with 266 passing yards and a touchdown, 3 rushes for 21 yards and 2 more rushing touchdowns. Under pressure specifically is where I think things really go over the top for how well Kyler Murray was able to play. 6 for 6 with 84 passing yards and a 90.5 passing grade under pressure. Murray has showcased in a couple of instances so far this season that he can play the quarterback position at an extremely high level. And I said that this was going to be his best year since that MVP season that we saw. What year was that?
2019? No, he was drafted in 19.
No, 21?
That sounds right.
It would have been 21, I think.
Yeah, whichever year they won did they win the division? No, they didn't win the division, but they won 10 or 11 games. Yeah.
No, because would that have been in the 2020 season? Because then he got hurt the next season, and then he came back the next season.
Let me see this.
I think it was 2021. Anyways, this is his best season since his MVP season, and he has come back to MVP form. And he is.
It was 21.
All right, I should have stuck with that. I thought it was 21. He's unbelievable. He's playing at an extremely high level. Kyler Murray is giving this team a chance to win every single week, especially when you combine it with weapons like Trey McBride, which you mentioned, a guy like James Conner, who gives you the ability to start every single drive and every single series off in a healthy way because he's really good and he's consistent on the ground. So Kyler Murray, super impressive in this game. What about you?
I'll take Trey McBride. I'm going to be honest with you. With Travis Kelce off, he's heating up now, but off to a little bit slower start. We know George Kittle's great. I could argue behind Kittle, I think right this minute Kittle's the best tight end in football. I could argue McBride's second. I think he's that good. I mean, only 4 catches for 71 yards in this game, but 90.3 receiving grade. He's got Sauce Gardner draped on his back and throws him off. He hurdles another guy. He makes plays after the catch. He's a really good route runner. I mean, Trey McBride, I mentioned a few weeks ago, I think he's the real X factor in this offense. When McBride produces, then it opens everything else on the outside for Harrison and Wilson, those guys outside. The run game's really good. They use a lot of tight ends in this offense, him and Elijah Higgins especially. This is one of the best tight ends in football. I think no less than top 5. I think I could argue top 3 because he is just hitting this groove right now. Everything he did at Colorado State in college when he was at times a one-man team on a not a great team, he's a problem. I think, look, Kyler Murray obviously is really good at quarterback. Marvin Harrison is obviously the number 1 receiver. I think Trey McBride on this team is the hardest player to defend. I think the way he can move around, he can slot, he can outside, he can inline, wherever you want him, he's an effective player. And I think he's a serious problem when it comes to, you have to make a choice now. Are you playing these guys outside and you're leaving the space underneath for McBride? Or are you finding a way to bracket or lean towards McBride and going with Marvin Harrison one-on-one outside? I think it's just, there are so many different things in this Cardinals offense you have to defend between the run game that, honestly, it's not even always that complicated, but they formation you to death, and they run right at you. They're really physical. And the outside threats with Harrison and Wilson and Dortch, and then Kyler Murray's legs too, but I think Trey McBride's the hardest one to find an answer for.
Yeah.
I don't know. When you have a tight end,
that's the beauty of a tight end, right?
The teams with elite tight ends like this.
Yes.
I mean, Kittle and Kelce and Mark Andrews and Trey McBride's one of those guys,
right?
And the Cardinals offense is a serious problem. I think he's the hardest player to defend on their offense.
I would agree.
I don't know what the answer is right now.
I would agree. Most disappointing before we move on.
I didn't want to go with none for the second in a row because I had it for Cowboys-Eagles. This game actually went how I thought it would go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
That's fair.
I went with Aaron Rodgers because he had his second lowest passing grade of the season and only completed one pass of 10 or more air yards.
Yikes,
but
yeah.
I think it's more an indictment on just the whole Jets offense. And you know the weirdest part of this game to me? This game went by so quick. The Cardinals had 7 drives and the Jets had 6. There was only 13 total. I don't know if I'd ever seen that, if that's like an NFL record low or something. There was only 13 total drives in this game. It was weird.
That seems extremely low.
That's just where it was. I guess both teams just took their time getting it over with.
Where?
and that was just I'd never seen that. The Jets only had 6 drives in this game. I'd never seen something like that.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure you like and subscribe the video. And if you don't have a PFF Plus subscription, you can get one to see all the premium stats that we talked about here on the show, plus the expert betting and fantasy advice over at subscribe.pff.com. The description is also right below, so if you are not a PFF Plus subscriber, you come one today.